Welcome back to another episode of Chrysalis Satori, All-American Burnouts, where we discuss what it's like moving to a foreign country. In particular, we moved to Europe, and so we're going to kind of break down some of the cultural shocks that we had coming into this country. Which
In Albania specifically.
yeah, there were quite a few in Albania. So, like, it's a man. This is the source of most of our laughs and our stories. Like, it's so funny the things we had to adjust to that we're just not used to from America. So, man, I mean, where do you?
And Paul, you're from a more laid back culture than I am in America, so
Yeah,
you're less
sensitive
vibrant
to
in your in your expressions about this than I am. So I'm going to let you drive a lot more because I could
I
be much harsher.
I am well, being from Louisiana. It's a very laid back country, I mean, or state. I'm sorry. So I kind of didn't have as much of an adjustment as West did. West is from a much more professional environment. You know, Virginia, kind of a, you know, little tight. They like things getting done, and in Louisiana, it just doesn't happen. So,
Yeah.
so what you know, the first thing I mean, I would say probably here. Look through the list, like. Um, the only thing that really, the first thing that drove me crazy when I got here was the concept of the line, like standing in line to wait for something, like at a
Queues. There's
grocery
no
store.
such thing. There's no such thing as a queue.
There's no line. So like, they pile in. So you'll be, let's say you're at a grocery store. It's the most generic thing, and you have to do it almost every day. So you go to a grocery store. They're getting better about forming little lines, but it's more of a pile, and then whoever opens next, they kind of go toward the front of the line. They just all start going in. People will come in from outside, jump in, like you could be up next, and they'll be like, "Oh, I just need to get one thing," and so they try that.
And it's usually cigarettes,
all the
which
time.
drives me nuts. You know,
They always want something.
you can wait for cancer. Get in line.
One little thing, and they give you like a thing. I'm usually like, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, no, I'm like, you have to do the finger. No. And
you do have to wag. You gotta.
yeah, you gotta wag the finger. Otherwise, I think you're saying yes no matter what. So that was hard to get used to. I got pretty brutal. Like there was an old guy trying to cut in line in front of me.
And they're the worst.
And
Old men. The old men are the worst. They're
they
from
just
the
push.
previous occupation.
They just push away the
That's
front
all
of the
they
line.
know. That's
And
all they know.
I like there was one guy I was cutting in. I'm literally pushing him to the side with myself. I don't have like 4 or 5 things. It's not like I have a bunch of stuff. Just a couple little things, and I'm like literally pushing him behind me. I'm like, no. And there's no arguing. There's no like they don't get upset about it. They just kind of make a face and like we're so rude or something. But it's the concept of a line is very lost here. They do not, and they pile as close as they can, so they're always like right next to you, like because they think someone's going to.
I mean, you're touching. You're rubbing. You're rubbing.
Yeah, 100%. So that was the biggest shock, I should say, that it wasn't very mannerly. Like their manners here are different. Like they don't.
And that touches on everything we're
It,
probably going to hit on as well.
that's
Just
exactly right.
overall.
That's
I mean,
exactly right.
it's a city, and it's highly overcrowded. So it almost seems, at least to us, these are the things that like you would just think like no one needed to tell you this. It just becomes apparent on its own, but not here. The concept of other people, that concept does not exist here. I mean,
What
it's
we would call common courtesy. There's a very limited common courtesy level here. Like it's not. You'll notice just walking on the sidewalk. You bump into somebody in America. You say, "Excuse me, pardon me." Here they don't say anything and they don't want to move. So like you're literally brushing by them. Wes has got to the point where he's literally body checking people walking down.
you know what? I'm not body. That you know the difference. What the difference is? I quit being stopping or walking around the one to always give. I just stopped being the one that always gave.
Yeah.
So I'm just now mimicking them, and
It's a game of chicken.
yeah.
You see
And
Wes
you're just gonna
walking,
bounce off me,
boop,
but
yeah, yeah.
you're
So
just gonna bounce off. I told you I had a scooter the other day, right?
yeah,
He bounced off of me into a car.
it's just that it's like a common things we take for granted in the U.S. because the U.S. is much more polite and much more, excuse me, pardon me. That really doesn't happen very often here. I say it. I say it in Albanian so they can understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, mafal. And they're like they kind of oh, okay. Like they're not used to hearing it, which is really interesting. But it may be a remnant of what, like you're saying, it may be something that because they were so oppressed and they were
Well, yeah,
pushed to the
yeah.
front of the line and pushed,
Well, I had a relationship with someone else in a previous country that also had the last occupation being communism, and yeah, so the idea of it's survival. I mean,
hmm
if you didn't do that, you didn't maybe eat. Okay, I mean, that was the reality.
yeah.
They had to fight to the front, and you had to fight for yours every day.
I
That
think
was the norm.
that
So that
seems logical. That would be the reasoning
you know,
for that for sure. But the courtesy is like stopping. Like if you're walking in a kind of a pile of people, people will stop in the street to talk to each other and just stop right in the middle of the
immediately right
sidewalk.
then, just
And so you're
just
bumping into them, and it's like one of those things.
it's a
Like
narrow sidewalk.
if you see
You know,
somebody, like I typically pull them to the side. Like I'll move, hey, how you doing? And we'll step away, from the stream of sidewalk traffic. They don't tend to do that here,
but no, they
they
just
they
anywhere's a good where.
they can
You
have
know.
they'll have a stroller. They'll block the entire line of people
And
behind
not
them.
just the sidewalk, it could be the street. They're blocking
Yeah,
traffic. It doesn't matter. It just they're completely oblivious to it. It doesn't matter.
yeah. Well, that's one thing that I noticed too. Is like I was very
It's
surprised.
weird.
People driving on a highway, a major highway, they will literally park on the highway to run into the store. So cars behind them are going 80 miles an hour are zipping around because the cars decided to park right in the middle of the highway, like on one lane of the highway. And but they do it everywhere. So the whole city, like you'll see cars just parked in the middle of the road, and there's people just honking their horn, and they hold onto the honk forever, like it's going to make any difference because the guy's in the store. And we all the time, like me and Wes will be having coffee somewhere, and we have to wait. We have to hold our conversation up because it's just a
Because you can't hear.
bonk,
Yeah.
bonk. Yeah, it's just a constant honking because somebody decided to park in the street and run into the bakery that we're in or something. It's the most random things. So
And they're not pulled over. It's just like the walking. People drive the same way they walk. Just
they,
anywhere is as good as anywhere else.
yeah,
Right here is fine.
they in the middle of the street, and it could be just a 2-lane road with traffic going each way, and they'll park. They'll stop in the middle of the street, run into the store, thinking, "Oh, it's going to be a minute." So y'all just wait. Everybody behind you wait, and it causes massive traffic jams all through the city. Like the whole city has got the worst. It's why I'm thankful I don't have to have a car here, because the traffic could be really brutal here, like really bad. And it's always because everybody parks and stops anywhere in the street, and there's no rhyme or reason or rules to it. Like it's very very different from the U.S.
And there's some entitlement when it comes to walking that is kind of weird too. Like we were saying, you can notice, just like with language and occupation, right? Things are generally generational
hmm
often, right? So
hmm
let's say, yeah, like your situation with the queuing. So if you're at the bakery, and yeah, this is where I've had it too. Luckily, the girls that work there, they've gotten better where, and so there's a new term. It's a relatively new term. They use it in the airline, and I love it. Gate lice. When people just pile up around and try to sneak on the flight, just gate lice you. Your seat's assigned. Everything's assigned.
But
there's
you have
no
to be the first to
benefit.
get in there.
You're not going anywhere till everybody's on board. There is no benefit to it whatsoever. It makes everything else worse, including for yourself. But it's human. It's what people do. Gate lice. So as a whole, that's what this whole thing is. It's just gate lice everywhere in every permutation. So, and you say
Truly.
you like to use the term common courtesy. I go lower than that. It's not even courtesy. I mean, it's self-serving. Okay,
hmm
so every single day, I come out of my apartment. I come out of the elevator down at the bottom.
Oh
The
yeah.
doors open, and they're piled up in front of the elevator. And it's like, you can't get on till I get off, right? You want to get on as soon as possible. So be to the side.
Yeah.
The quicker I'm out, the quicker you're in. It's self-serving, right? They're all piled in. They rush in. And I'm on the highest floor. I'm on the top floor. So even when it comes to getting on, it would only make sense for me to get on first and stay in the back, right? So you can get on and off on the way up on your stops.
That would
And
make
these
a lot of
people, I've been
sense.
here long enough. They know it's been a few years, and just none of that. It's self-serving, just nothing like that. But every day you come out of that's backed up, and it's kind of a foyer before the exit to the street as well. So same thing. So even if they're not piled up there, or even if they are, what do? They pile up into the doorway. It's compounding.
Right.
You'll see the same thing happen on the buses, right? They just crowd into people are trying to get off. The bus is full. They've got to get off before anyone can. What do? Just the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
time. They do it with the flights. They do it with the, on and off. I mean, you name it. It's just the same thing. It's hysterical. When I landed, okay, first, it wasn't my first flight in. Oh, yeah, it was my first return flight in. No, actually, well, I left like for Italy. So it was my first flight back into Albania after I moved back into here, even though it was just like a little trip to Italy. And Americans can be bad about this too. Please stay seated until the ding goes off, right? With your seatbelt on, right? Okay, these guys are notorious. I mean, it's just a given. The question is just how bad it's going to be, right?
Oh yeah.
So we're not at the gate. We're still taxiing. We're nowhere near the gate. We're still, taxiing along, and they've already announced it 2 times. And again, it's generational. The older the men are, the more likely they are to do it. All the men are up. They're in the aisle. They're getting their bags out. And the plane just cuts a right. And everybody just, whoa! It was hilarious. So I just sit back and wait. Like, I just want to, now it's like almost a form of citizen pleasure. I just wait to see just how bad it's going to be every return flight
Who's
into
going to fall
Albania.
over this time? Yeah.
It's hysterical. And then on top of that, so here there are no jetways, right? It's a small airport. So everything has the stairs. And it's a small airport. There's not that many airlines come in and out. So most of the flights, they'll load front and back. So there are 2 sets of stairs on the plane. So they'll front and back. Yeah. So these people haven't been a lot of places. This is what they know. So given that, when you land at your destination, they're expecting the same insanity, and it doesn't exist, right? So you'll have this. The bell has gone off. You're getting ready to get off. So you've gotten up. You've gotten your bag, and you're just standing there waiting, and I'm facing the front of the plane, right? Half of the people, so half the plane, half and half the people, they're looking back, staring at you because they're expecting you to get out the back. And I'm just looking at them, just shaking my head. And I'm like, they don't do that here. They don't do that here. I know you did it on the same plane, but they don't do that here. It's a jetway. It's a jetway. It's not stairs, and just without fail. And they're already pushing. They're pushing. They're like, they're trying to get to the back of the plane because they're going to get off first. And then, and they have to go forward. After they've, they
just worked their way all the way back for nothing. Yeah.
It's just angrily.
Oh yeah.
It's funny as hell, but just all around in every way you can think of. So walking on the street, waiting in a queue, which is non-existent.
Personal space, yeah.
But I left that story. So like at the bakery, the girls have gotten better where there is a semi gate lice line, usually like 2 lines at the bakery, and this will happen. This still happens. So again, generational. So you have some old guy who he just walked in, and if he's been standing there for more than a minute, he starts grumbling, just verbally just barking, and he will push up through everybody, get up to the front, bark something at the girl, and I love it. The girls will just ignore him. They just look past him and service everybody else until it's his turn where he came in originally. But he'll just stand there the whole time.
Yeah, he thinks
usually thinking of body odor and garlic, but yeah.
Yeah. So. That's a whole other ball of wax. I mean, every once in a while, like I remember I was walking on the streets a few weeks ago. I told Wes about this too. I was standing at a walkway on the zebra stripes, as they call them here, waiting for the light to change, and a gorgeous woman walks up next to me, stands right beside me, decked out, just looks like she's going out to the Met Gala or something like, and then the wind changed, it came right through, and the smell. I was like, oh my God, like the level of body odor was just horrendous. It was absolutely. So you'll find a lot of that, like in grocery stores especially, and they want to stand close to you because people cut, but if they haven't bathed in a few days, it is like pungent. I bathe every day and I wear deodorant, and they don't always do that. So you have to get used to that certain smell. And I guess carrying along with the smell too is the smoking. So like in everywhere, there's outdoor seating and there's always smoking. Like
if you have asthma or risk of asthma, don't come to a developing country. Yeah. Okay.
Because
pollution,
it's going to
smoking,
have more pollution. It's going to have a lot of smoking. I think everybody. I think it's like 50% of the people smoke here, maybe more. But yeah, it's like but that's part of the reason why everything's outside. Like they have outside. There's no smoking inside, so to speak. Although some places kind of semi allow it, but
it doesn't matter.
But technically, there's not supposed to be smoking inside. But for the most part, so you can sit inside and have no be smoke free for sure, but the
Well,
outside's all like sprawling and it's full of smokers. So
well, I can tell you. So the seasons are changing, right? It to them, it's gotten cold. Not to you and me. I'm still in shorts and
yeah,
t-shirt, and they're in their parkas and goose
yeah,
down and well, it's not goose down, but anyway, they're in their what they call those puffers, right? Puffer
yeah,
jackets. But it looked like they're wearing a duvet. I mean, it's from neck to floor. But anyway,
yeah.
they think it's that cold. So anyway, other things change. So they're outdoor. So they're all smokers,
Mhm.
and they go out less because it's cold now. So the reason why I bring this, like in my place, in my own apartment, it comes through the walls. It
Mhm.
permeates. I can smell. So this time of year, for the rest of the season till probably spring,
'Cause
I'm
they're
going to smell
yeah,
cigarettes coming up through the plumbing in the bathroom and through some of the neighboring walls. It
yeah.
just does.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And I knew people here that were from California that weren't used to that, and they hated every minute of it, which I get. I truly do get.
Just
Um,
expectations. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So you have to just manage those things. But I'm trying to think what else here we got. Oh,
Well, let's see. I know there's more that, yeah. So,
so
like we were talking about the traffic and
one of the
gate lights,
one of the things
bus.
was, but well, what'll happen is when you go to the ATM, uh, each one lek is about equivalent to 1 penny. So they count everything in pennies. So if you think of it that way, so if you get you go to the bank, get out $200. It'll be 5,000 leks. So 5,000 leks, $50 roughly. Um, Nobody wants to break a 5,000 lek. Like it, if you go to the store,
It's some type of cultural shame to
it
make change. It's
it's the
weird.
weirdest thing. So
And it's an
the
all
taxi
cash place. It's
drivers,
all tax. I mean,
yeah,
it's all cash, but like to break
taxis
a
won't
bill is
break
just,
it. So what we've kind of mastered the art of going to the grocery store, the big grocery stores. We'll break it. So we're buying a pack of gum or a water for like 50 cents and then giving them 5,000 lek. And of course they're like, oh, do you have anything smaller? And we're like, nope, sorry. So they have to break it. But it's crazy that nobody wants to break it. Like you're in a taxi. If you go to the ATM and you get in a taxi, they're not going to want to make change for 5,000 lek. They're like, oh, yo, I can't do that again. But that's the only thing you have. Then they got to figure out something. So they'll run to the store and break it.
and well, they, no, they'll give you the difference or for free rather than break the bill. They might go to another store, maybe,
Yeah.
or they'll give it to you for free, or they'll say next time, or they'll give it like I just had this. I was at Rossman on the way home from the other day. We were talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple of items. I had the money ready. It was six and change. I had seven, so that's a five and a two because they have $2 bills here. So it was a
Mm-hmm.
five and a two, and it ready. And even then, she's like, "Hey, Vogel, did I have the exact?" No. So she sees my wallet. She sees I have other twos. So she has me give her three twos, six, and just let me not pay the difference. So the store loses money, but they rather do that than make
Yeah,
change.
yeah. I've had that happen before too. If it's like five,
Lots.
it'll be 5,010 cents, and they'll forget the 10 if I have like a $10 bill.
Right. I think it was 40, so I didn't have 40 cents in change, so she just gave it to me for six.
Yeah, I don't know how their bookkeepers deal. Like I guarantee the grocery store, like their drawers
Hey, money laundering's all about loss,
they
so it
never
works.
ever equal out. Yeah, for sure. It's like they just never want to break them. So we've gotten to we know the places that will break them, but everywhere we go, we have to prepare to have smaller bills, and so that's one thing to keep in mind when you have to, especially if you go to the ATM.
I'd say the only one you really got to worry about is the taxi. A taxi could
Taxis
mess
are
with your
worse.
three. Like, yeah, if
Yeah,
you need to have smaller bills for a taxi for sure, and they'll play with you too. I mean, they have the change. They're just trying to get, they just want to keep the whole 20 instead of giving you 14 back.
yeah, pretty
But
much.
they're the worst about that.
Hmm.
Most of them, they will get the change, can get the change. They're just resistant. Nearly all of them can and will get you change, but they just act like you just killed their cat in front of them.
I was going to say that if as long as you can tolerate saying no, this is all, this is it, because they'll act like and their life is ending and it's the end of the world. So yeah, it's very dramatic. They're very very dramatic people. So they'll do
It's like
that.
some form of shame. It's weird.
It is so. I don't know, but like most of the time, like I think that you're right about the taxi with the tip. Tips are not necessarily expected here. That's kind of
Yeah, not really. And if you watch the locals, they don't. And if they do, you're
yeah,
talking like 10 cent. You know.
yeah. It's usually like if it's a $6.50, ticket, they'll give $7 and leave the 50 cents kind of thing. But it's
Because
not
you don't want to wait for them to come and make change anyway. That'll be another hour out of your life.
pretty much. Well, just getting the attention of the waiter is usually pretty brutal. So like that, this happens to Wes and I all the time. And Wes and I tip. That's the worst part. Is these people
Yeah.
these people know us. We tip very well because we're Americans and we feel guilty if we don't. So we're really good. We're probably their best tippers. I would venture to say. And yet, still getting them to come back to our table. Like once they take your first order, getting them to come back and get more stuff or to bring us our ticket, our check. Sometimes I put it on the table right when you order. Sometimes, but most of the time you have to flag them down and getting. They have mastered the art of not looking at you and are
Oh,
completely ignoring. Like you're at a
you got the
table
menu.
and you can be waving, and,
You know,
their focus is like dead straightforward. They're not. They're like,
you're like
I don't see anything.
perfectly all around your motion and like, nope, never made contact.
Anywhere but you, yeah. And so they walk away, and you're like, God. So we we spend a good 20 minutes getting our check, or getting just a check of the change. Just give us our bill. So,
And most of the time, it's only that short because I just get up and go get them. I
Yeah.
mean, they're not coming. Just you get up and go get them.
it's a different level of service. Like if you're used to in America having the good service and the people that are on time and Johnny on the spot, that's not what you really get here quite often. I mean, there's a few places like a little higher end places that are a little bit better that are pretty nice. Still not quite the level of America on the service. Depending on what part of the country, because I know in Louisiana it was pretty bad service too. Like going to fast food restaurants is like a nightmare. So I was kind of
So when you
used to it.
do ask for the bill, have your money ready, like immediately, like because I mean, even we're not kidding. As soon as they hand you, they're already like walking away.
Yeah,
So they're already looking away. So like, hold, no, like
it,
put
it,
the money, make the change now, or you're gonna wait another 20, 30 minutes, or go get them again. So have the money ready.
I gotta read. I gotta read. These are the notes that Wes wrote too for this. He said, he said, be prepared to throw objects at your server. Yelling will not be sufficient.
I haven't done it yet, but I definitely have the feeling it's like I want to make use that salt pepper grinder is just like
One
it looks
day,
perfect. I could
yeah,
just missile that, right?
Just toss it.
It hasn't happened yet, but yeah, it's in my mind.
Oh my god, yeah. And splitting the receipts is another thing that's a little bit of a pain in the butt. So
Well, not even splitting the check. Start with the basic.
yeah, well,
It's not a whole check,
it's
plain and
not.
simple.
It's not. Yeah, and you'll get like they'll bring you tickets sometimes as you order. So like a lot of times it'll just be you'll have like 10 tickets on the table because
So if Paul orders two things and I'm still figuring out what I want, they're
yeah,
going to bring a receipt for his two items. And then
right.
I order whatever I order and they bring that. And we sit there longer. He orders another water. That's a third ticket. I bring,
Mhm.
and they don't add it up at the end. So you got to sit there and let's say you mixed it or shared it. So then that combines. You've got to
Mhm.
add it up yourself, parse out what you owe. So don't get too drunk.
Yeah.
you're gonna have to do the math.
Yeah, I was going to say eventually, and that's actually caused some problems at some of the bars I've been to. So like, excuse me, I remember I was with a British guy. I won't say his name here, but you know what I'm talking about. He got really drunk one night, and he was arguing about the bill, saying that he only had this many and that. And I've I don't think I've ever been scammed at the bar. Maybe one drink that, but I was kind of on the fence. I was like, man, I don't
They're
think
honest. They're very
they're
honest
very
people.
honest with that, yeah. But he was insisting that he only had, he was over 2 drinks or something that he didn't have, or I don't know. It was a huge ordeal. So, but I don't know. It all comes down like if you go out here with a group, especially as you buy your drinks, pay for what you buy. That would be the best advice I can give.
As you go.
As you go, say when she brings you the drink, have the money ready and give it to her, and that way.
There's another reason you're going to have to anyway. We'll get to that next. Keep going,
Yeah,
sir.
well, no, that's exactly right. I mean, that way there's no because I've gotten stuck with bills from expats that I can't believe. Like I'm blown away that Americans act like this. Me and Jared went out one night. Jared's from the same hometown I am. So we were out one night and they had an expat meet. An expat meet. Okay, so 15 people come, 20 people come. We're all at this place, and they all order food and they're ordering drinks and they're ordering all kind of stuff. half of them get up and just leave.
People just leave.
They just
Yep,
get up
yep.
and leave. And they're like, all right, see you later, guys. And I'm like, going, I guess you're assuming they paid their bill because they're American. They're supposed to like know that this isn't free or somebody else will pay for it. So I've gotten stuck with like a $300 bill one time, man. And I was like, and I got it. The second time it happened, Jared was with me. I got stuck with like I think $150 bill, and me and Jared split it. But I was like, I'm never doing this again. I'm never paying for any expats drinks or food ever again because I'm like they're so self and it blew me away, like it changed me forever because I'm typically a pretty generous guy, like I was always buying drinks for everybody, blah blah blah. But now it's like, man, they got screwed so bad that it wasn't like they asked or they assumed. There was no expectation of anything. They just got up and left. I'm like, see you later, I don't have to pay my bill, I'm walking out, dine and
Yeah.
dash, I'm like, that's just unreal, but they did it.
Developing countries don't attract the best expats. I have learned that myself.
That's one thing I've noticed too. I have a
A
theory.
nicer country, a nicer expat. A more expensive country, a nicer expat.
I have a
Developing
theory.
country expats,
Yeah, I think
shifty.
I think it's because like, and it also lends to the attitude that many Europeans have towards Americans. Is why they don't like them. I myself do not like most of the Americans I meet that come here. Like I know exactly how they feel because I'm like, this guy's a total douchebag. Yeah, I'm not knocking on him too much, but I mean that's the truth. Like I was so grateful to find Wes and Mario and Ray and a few of our friends that we had here. Um,
Ray,
yeah, because like
what a good soul.
they were so great to meet those guys because I was like, I'm having the hardest time meeting normal people from America. But I think it's because there's so much disposable income in America that the shitty people can afford to travel and they come. So it's a thing. It's really like it's I don't know. It's and I, not to knock on California, but California people, you're the worst. I'm just gonna throw that out here now. I mean, because I've met so many, and there's a few that I like that I genuinely like, and but the vast majority, I'm like, man, what are you doing? Because they come here to complain, like they think that it's supposed to be like California, and it's not. It's just not. We're in a third world country, and they complain about the buses. They complain, oh, if they'd only increased the taxes, we could pay for better buses. And I'm like, going, they can't afford what they have now, and like they make,
Those buses are donated
yeah, they make 500
from
bucks,
other countries.
500 bucks a month, and you want to charge them more, and I'm like,
Those buses are donated from Italy and Germany.
pretty
You
much,
know,
and they're
they're used ones. They're leftovers.
yeah,
You know,
there's discarded ones from other countries. So it's definitely something that's I couldn't believe the things I was hearing from. I'm like, man. And I got to the point where I'm like, going, if you like that so much, go back to California, man. Go away, because that's if they're complaining they couldn't find a wild boar hairbrush, and I was like, first of all, I don't even know what a wild boar hairbrush is. But
there's the American that travels with the expectations of having all the same standards and food that they find back home, which is for me shitty anyway. Like they
yeah,
can't find a McDonald's. It's like, why'd you leave then?
right.
There's that, and then to your point, yeah, there's the Californian, and it's just that exemplified, with just these insane ideals and standards that were not even adopted or accepted much in their own country, and they expect that
Yeah,
in a developing
like
nation.
for example, being massively upset that there's not a vegan menu or something. I'm like going, they're like screaming at the top of their lungs at the waiter. Like the waiter can do anything. Number one, number two. I'm like, why would they? It's
He doesn't
embarrassing.
understand what you're saying anyway.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is just embarrassing, man. Like you don't have vegan options, and they're just flabbergasted. They cannot believe it, and I'm like, going, my goodness, man. So I don't do well with that at all. So I very rarely find uh, any Americans that I really enjoy here. Very rarely, and I'm grateful for the ones I have, but I keep my group really small. And most of them are bouncing in and out traveling. Wes will be traveling soon, so yeah.
The funny thing about that is the irony is what they what they say is, they're always preaching acceptance of anything, but they're the least tolerant and acceptant of anything outside of their current
Absolutely,
lexicon.
I couldn't agree more.
Uh,
So if you're an American, you come to a third world country, don't be that guy. Don't be like that. Don't
be
disrespect.
flexible and acceptant.
Yeah, and don't embarrass yourself. I mean, like it's hard to listen to sometimes. Yeah, but all that lends into I mean, what we're talking about today, man, culture shock was a real thing. So
Well, and the last
takes
thing,
a
just
ton.
to your point of pay as you go,
Hmm.
you might as well pay as you go because you can stay, and that's one of the nice things of European culture. You can just stay anywhere for no one's going to run you off. That doesn't happen. You could have
Yeah,
bought nothing, even not even just a 50-cent water. You could have bought nothing,
yeah,
and you could be there all day, and they're not going to run you off. But the servers come and go rather sporadically. Their shifts in rather sporadically, so you can be right in the middle of chewing, in the middle of eating, and they need you to pay the bill because they're leaving.
yeah,
So you might as well pay as you go because that's going to happen a lot
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. It's very, very, very true. Yeah, could you pay after my shift is over? And he wants the tip, not the other guy. So yeah,
Yeah, and but even if you don't, they don't. Yeah, they're not expecting it, so it doesn't matter.
yeah,
A lot of times, the last guy gets the tip, but
yeah,
they don't care. It just
yeah.
doesn't really matter somehow.
Yeah, so I think that was probably a pretty comprehensive list of the things that are the biggest culture shock to me. So I don't know if you have anything to add to it, man. That was we're about
Just
30 minutes
overall,
in.
it's interesting. Yeah, it's just an overall to be such a highly because that's usually just something again almost happens organically. Not that anyone necessarily needed to tell you. They're just things you become aware of. This will be a dog can figure it out. Okay. A dog's
Hmm.
walking the opposing direction of you and they can figure it out and they go around you or
They know to
stop and you, and
turn.
you, and
Yeah,
you negotiate, right? A dog can figure it out. But
yeah,
at every turn, at every little thing here, there is a complete lack of awareness that you even exist. You might as well be, just some ethereal vapor that they can't detect. I mean,
so
it's only them, and they're looking down at the phone. Which even if that's not even an excuse, because all the sidewalks are bricked or cobblestone, so there's lines. So even then, you could see a line and walk in a straight line, and they just drift like they were drunk. They
yeah,
just, and seems to be ageless. That is not generational. Just they drift haplessly. You don't know where they're going, and they could stop, like you said, immediately, just like right in, just
yeah.
stop.
I've run into the back of them so many times because I'm looking down because the sidewalks are bumpy. So you have to watch it.
Uneven, yeah,
You have to watch your
holes.
step. Yeah, and there's stuff all over the sidewalks like that. It would be very difficult for a crippled or handicapped person to exist here because there's very little infrastructure built for you.
And
So
that's Europe as a whole as well.
that
Also,
is 100%. But so I'm having to look at where I'm walking so I don't kick a planter or something.
you are
Um,
walking. You look where you walk. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Even in the daytime.
and
Yes.
so if people stop right in front of you, it's like boom, you're right there. I mean, like it is stupid. So definitely an adjustment. So I guess the best
And for
lesson.
whatever reason, the it's older women too. For whatever reason, like we were talking about, the older men, the oldest generation, seem to cut
Cut.
lines or not
Yeah,
acknowledge lines and bark
yeah,
on the street. The type or individual that is least likely to give way or just I'll step this way, share the street. I'll take a step, you take a step. No, no, none of that. The person you're going to check or clip
yep,
the most often is an old lady.
absolutely,
For
100%.
some reason, there's some sense of entitlement. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
You can make eye contact. It doesn't matter.
yeah. You'll literally walk until you kiss. You make eye contact. Yeah,
So
it's so
it's just
funny.
that thing just overall is just it's ubiquitous. It's rife. It's everywhere. It's all the time. So you never really kind of quite get used to it. It's just strange. Again, to me, it's not even about courtesy. I mean, you can go lower than that and say self-serving. It's
Hmm.
in your own best interest to do these things, right? So that you don't hit something, so that you don't get stopped, so that you get right. I mean,
100%. So
but
the best advice we can give you is, as an American, be adaptable, be patient, and because there is a learning curve, and there is ludicrous things that will happen to you.
that's the word.
Yeah, that you're like, I do not understand this. So, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. You just got to kind of go with the flow. Wes still has trouble with this. After many years here, he still's like, why don't they come? It cracks me up. I'm a little.
It's self-serving.
I,
It's in their own best. You want to get on there as quick as possible. Let people out for God's sake.
I'm just a little more laid
It's
back, and
physics,
I'm like
mass
going.
and space.
It's like, yeah, this is just like Louisiana, man. I feel right at home. So it's right up there, man, for sure.
Okay.
Man, but yeah, that was pretty good episode, pretty good breakdown of what the culture shock was for us, I think. And so, unless you have anything to add, buddy,
Yeah, those are the daily
daily
challenges. They never get
pains.
old. They never get old.
They
It's
never
just-
will. Endless humor from those as well, for sure.
Yes.
Funny stories. We appreciate you so much. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and next weekend we'll cover some more stuff. Hopefully, be as good as this one, man. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.